Well, sweet fancy Moses, we just watched one of the most bizarre movies of the year, and we're going to talk about it right now.
Come to Saltburn.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I'm a OG boy.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my
G boy.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Odd Popcorn for that review. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick. I'm not dead.
He's not dead.
I'm alive.
I am starting to feel sick though, so we're gonna speed our way through this review so I can go recover from whatever's happening to me. But I'm well enough to watch a movie and record it. So this is a brand new movie. It's only the second movie ever directed by Emerald Fennell. The first one being Promising Young Woman from I think 2019 or 2020, which I liked quite a bit. I was a little disappointed with the end of it, but this isn't a review for that, I suppose. What did you like that movie?
I don't know that I've
that?
seen it, honestly. I should have looked it up to see what else she had done, but I haven't seen that, so.
Just that, yeah. I like it a lot. Like I said, disappointed with the ending, but it's a good movie, and it showed that she was a promising young woman. And I really liked Carey Mulligan's performance on that. I've seen her on things before, Pride and Prejudice, and a couple other things, but that was a real like star-making performance for me, even if I wasn't super satisfied by the story as a whole. Yeah, so she's got a new one for us. I would be really interested to see what this even reminds people of, because to me this is an extremely unique story and it's nuts. So I don't know, do you want to give like a little spoiler-free introduction to what we're dealing with in this movie, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, I guess it's basically like Barry Keoghan's character, Oliver, kind of gets twisted up with this really wealthy family and invited to stay with them for the summer, and he seemingly comes from a poor background, and he has to he lives vicariously through them almost, and like kind of becomes a part of their family over the summer. He kind of chameleons his way into the family.
Yeah, he's got this draw toward like that kind of aristocratic, rich, silver spoon in your mouth kind of lifestyle. It seems like right off the bat, as soon as he sees Jacob Elordi's character Felix, as soon as he sees him, he's like drawn to this person, and it's almost like, gosh, I wish I was already in with these people, because he's brand new at Oxford. He knows no one. Our first introduction to him in the dining hall, there's nowhere for him to sit, and he ends up stuck for a little while as like his only friend is this guy that you can tell he has zero interest in. Like, he doesn't want to be this guy's friend either, but this guy will lash on to anyone that is an outcast, and it almost seems like Barry Keoghan's character is the only outcast in the whole school. Like, because he's like, doesn't everybody, he's like, we're the ones with no friends, and he's like, well, isn't that everybody right now? I mean, it's the first day, and he's like, look around, dude.
Yeah.
And you look around, and everybody's having this like spirited discussion with somebody, But yeah, that guy, I'm glad we didn't have to deal with a whole lot more of him than we did, because he's very effective at playing somebody who is extremely uninteresting, to the point of I'm uninterested by you.
Yeah, it's like the guy that you see him, you're like, not this guy again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ends up in this situation with with Felix. Felix has a flat tire on his bicycle, and he loans
Oliver?
Not Felix, Oliver, yeah. Or Oliver loans him his bike, takes his busted wheel bike back to campus, and so this kind of endears them to each other. And it almost seems like Felix is somebody who is so rich and wealthy that he just gets bored easily with things, and this person is just like almost like a point of interest or a conversation piece or something to him.
It's like people have become his entertainment more than like objects are doing things.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell they grow on each other, and there's a lot of little like quick montages of them. Right early on in the movie, there's an older Oliver telling us the story in past tense. Right off the bat, it's showing us kind of a quick montage of things that are going to happen later in the movie, which I thought was kind of an interesting take. But you can tell these guys, grow on each other, and they have this relationship, and so it's just a matter of where did this go. And I will say, going into this, I don't know about you, but I think we're on the same page here. Like, I purposely avoided learning anything about this that I didn't already know, which was not much at all. I knew who the director was and what she'd done before. I knew who was in this movie, and there's something about a big estate and everything like that, and that is all I needed. Something about they're at Oxford College, and there's an estate, and
Yeah, I
And
mean,
something insane happens in this, or some things insane happen in this.
I didn't know anything insane happened or anything like that. Like I saw the trailer for the movie honestly and was like I might skip this one and I think you texted me the other day and said something about something crazy happening and I was like, "All right, maybe I'll give it a try." I do like all the
Yeah.
actors too. Like Barry Keoghan's great and Jacob Elordi, he's great in Euphoria.
Well, and also, so we got Rosamund Pike here. I like
Yeah.
her in a lot of things, especially Gone Girl, but she's usually, everywhere she shows up, she's good. Richard E. Grant, I didn't take the time to look and see what I recognize him from.
I
But
definitely recognize him.
that guy kind of stole the show every time he was on screen. I think he's really doing a great performance here, more than he had to do, even. I think this is Alison Oliver's first role ever, but she plays Venetia. I'd never heard of that name, by the way, that Rosamund Pike's character is Elspeth?
Elspeth.
Elspeth?
I've heard that.
Never heard that name.
I think I've heard it like
And
in a
then
video game or something maybe.
And then Carey Mulligan does make another appearance. I will say, and I don't want to get into, we don't have to get in cons right now or anything. I don't know how much her role in this did for the story to me. What would you say about that?
Which
that
character?
role?
Which character was she?
Carey Mulligan. So she's Pamela, with
Right.
the tattoos, and she's kind of also in the scenario where they've given her a place to stay when she needed it, but they're
Yeah, I
kind of
think that
losing interest in her.
yeah, and I think that's kind of like trying to show the point that like these rich people are only interested in like drama and gossip, kind of like they're more interested in like using people or having them around rather than interested in their actual lives or helping them.
Yeah, and they're all very fake. Everyone,
Yeah.
most characters here are not particularly likable, with I think the exception of Jacob Elordi as Felix. And you're trying to decide. I think a lot of this movie, or maybe not, but for me, you're kind of trying to decide what to think about Oliver, because
Yeah.
Oliver is not easy to pin down. There sort of seems to be more than one Oliver. What kind of Oliver? What's the real Oliver like? Is he really shy and timid and childlike and bashful around ladies and all this, or is he very much the opposite? Or how much does he lie? How much does he tell the truth? How innocent? If he does tell a lie, are his goals innocent, or
Yeah, is he just gaining confidence or has he always been this way the whole time?
so? That's about as much as I can say without spoiling it. So for the people that don't want to see, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I highly recommend you don't have this spoiled for you. Don't watch any more of this video. Come back later, after you've seen it. But for people that don't want it spoiled, I think we should go ahead and give a review. So, or our scores. So, what would you give this out of 10?
I think this might surprise you knowing that I didn't want to see this. Not necessarily that I didn't want to see it, but like the trailer did not interest me whatsoever. I'm gonna give it like a 9.5.
It's absolutely. This movie is great.
It was
I will remember
fantastic.
this for a long, long
Yeah.
time.
And it really
Uh,
and I think part of it is I really liked the movie Cruel Intentions as a kid, and it kind of hit some of those notes for me of like these rich people just like not really, and I guess they're not necessarily using people in this one or like making bets about them, but it kind of just like really reminded me of like a little bit of that, like in Party Monster a little bit, and I dug it.
By the way, I'm also going to give this a 9.5.
Nice.
I cannot believe how much I like this. Even going into it being a lot more excited than you about it, I still have no idea what I'm going to get. And I knew there was a moment where I started to think, man, this might not deliver. Like I'm accepting like this might not be everything I'm expecting it to be, but I'm enjoying it while it's happening to me. It looks cool and everything like that. But
It
the
might be
story
my
just really
yeah.
delivered in like a crazy. What are you about to say?
It might be my favorite movie of the year that we've done so far. Yeah.
That that does surprise me, but I'm glad it is, because I almost thought this was going to be. I thought this had the potential to be like a Titan situation where it's like, I love this thing, and you're like, wow, that is
Right.
brutally bad, because some people are going to come away with this and hate it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Somebody walked out of the theater at a point in mine, and they did not return.
Okay.
So they were done with it at a point. It does certainly, it's like trigger warning for a lot of things. Like, it does certainly go some places that I don't know how on earth you could possibly predict. But that's what I love so much about it, because, man, sometimes you need a movie to just revigorate you and remind you that movies can really surprise you and take it in directions. This movie kept surprising me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, spoilers now. Free for all.
The big major spoilers. So we've kind of got down to where Oliver goes and lives with his family. You think the whole time, kind of, Jacob Elordi's character Felix is just a people collector. Like he just brings them around and uses them until he's done with them. And it kind of turns out that Barry Keoghan isn't necessarily a people collector, but he's not who he says he is this whole time. You're led to believe that his father's a drug addict who sold drugs. His mother was also a drug addict, alcoholic. The reason he gets invited to come to Saltburn in the first place is because he goes to Felix's room like sobbing and is like has tells him his father had just died from falling over and hitting his head, probably from being on drugs. And then the big twist later in the movie, it's like his Felix's birthday present to Oliver is taking him to see his mom.
Which he does not want to do.
No. And as soon as that started to happen, I was like, oh, okay, something's going on here. And he's like middle class family, what like has siblings that he lied about.
This. I thought the thing that's gonna happen is we get there and the mom is such a mess and a wreck and the house is a wreck and he undersold how impoverished and terrible his life had been and he's just so mortified for Felix, who's this aristocratic, lived in this mansion his whole life, to see how bad it really is. But no, like dad's still, like you said, dad's still alive,
loving
they seem
family,
to be pretty, like middle class. He didn't even say
upper middle.
He's an only. Yeah, upper middle class. He says he's an only child. He's got these sisters that he doesn't talk about. I wouldn't call this a con, but I do kind of wish we had revisited a little more of that or gotten a little more out of that. But I think that I guess that just adds like intrigue and mystery to the character further. And maybe you don't want everything fed to you like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't get a lot more than that. It's like, oh yeah, he's got sisters and blah, 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 and a couple other things, and then we're moving on. And the point of that was just now Felix sees how deceitful he can be, and that's the first like wedge driven into their relationship, and kind of the ultimate one, because I think at that point Felix is saying like, you should probably go after this party. The whole birthday scene is really a trip, because it almost reminded me of a little bit of like Eyes Wide Shut or something. Like, I'm like, what is going to happen at this party? Because we got the people are just really wearing these really bizarre costumes, and I don't know what you thought about it or if you have an opinion about it or whatever, but the antlers. The birthday antlers.
Yeah, I was trying to like make a connection to something. I'm sure there was some maybe literary thing, because he was supposed to be like a English major or something, or they kept referencing Shelley and Byron and stuff, but I couldn't make a connection to it.
But so and also early on, there's the whole thing with, and I don't know how much YouTube will let us say here, but I'll just say this. There's this whole thing with Felix's sister Venetia.
Yeah.
Where she seems like she's kind of trying to seduce Oliver, like hanging out near his window, wearing kind of suggestive stuff, and when he finally acts on that, that's I don't remember what the order of operations here was, but like when he finally acts on that, you're like, who is this guy? Like, he's got a whole different way about him, and he's so forward. He says, I'm a vampire, and when you see the movie, you'll understand a lot about what he means by that, but also, like, is there a deeper metaphor there going on with him saying he's a vampire? I mean, no one's an actual vampire in this movie, but it's like, it seemed like they were trying to say more than just the literal, like, I like blood.
Yeah, it could have been like, I'm very, like, a very charming person, like, but very sly and stuff, maybe. I didn't really make that connection, but now that you mention it, yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
When you fully start to realize how much of Oliver is a lie, and in the last third of the movie, or I guess the third act of the movie, when things really start to speed up, it just really took me by surprise how little we actually knew the character. It feels like you're kind of along with the ride with Felix, actually, because you're getting to know this guy as he is, and he seems so innocent and shy and helpless, and it's almost, you almost feel bad for the guy just because of his demeanor and everything. Surprisingly, it's not just because it's the same actor. But weren't you getting a little bit of notes from Killing of a Sacred Deer in this?
Yeah, and I feel like it's easy to compare Barry Keoghan to a lot of his other characters, because they are kind of similar in some ways. Like, sometimes they're kind of like real dopey or real conniving, and
well, I think he was in Banshees of Inisherin. He played a pretty different character than
that's true. But yeah, I can definitely see that from Killing of a Sacred Deer.
But this is two situations where, in both of them, for similar reasons, I think, he is sort of punishing a family for their, I don't know, for all their opulence and for all the things that he's envious of them about.
Right.
But I also don't think this movie was trying to tell like a deeper, like, socioeconomic story.
I don't think so either.
wealth disparity and stuff like that. I don't think this movie wants you to read that much into it. I don't think it's like I don't think this is some kind of like there's some
Like eat,
underhanded like socialism, communism
yeah,
message here or something like that.
not like Eat the Rich or something like that. It's just he
Wh-
hated this, loved slash hated them. I don't know. It's kind of
Well, he says a lot of times that he loved Felix.
yeah.
And it's a matter of if he was in love with Felix or if he loved Felix. I think at points he was in love with Felix to the point of like toxicity, like
Hmm.
obsession, because the bathtub scene
That was hard to watch. That was probably
was freaking hard to watch.
yeah.
That was hard to watch. And just being in a theater with other people watching certain parts of this movie is interesting to me. But the bathtub scene certainly shows some obsession, and the scene with the grave site, the freshly dug
Oh
grave
yeah,
site.
man. That was
I
wild.
mean, so that's where the lady walked out.
Oh, that's like pretty close to the end too.
Yeah, I can't believe she made it as far as she did. But when he's crying at that, which the acting is like
Dude,
second to none.
the acting, I think everybody in this movie did a phenomenal
Everybody.
job.
I can't point out anybody bad. Even that girl that's never been in anything
Yeah.
does a great job here. I mean, and it's not like she's barely in it. Like she has a
She's-
lot to
yeah.
do, and she has to be very sad a lot. But once he's crying at that grave, and he gets up and takes his shirt off, and then he unbuckles his buckle and pants and everything, that lady was like, "No, okay."
He's gonna
And
this grave, and I'm not watching this.
and that is what he does, and it's a crazier thing to watch than it is to say.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things in this movie are crazier to experience than they really sound like they are. But man, there's some stuff in this that just will burn into your brain, and then
I thought like that was probably gonna be the ending of the movie right there, but it turns out like, and I was like, it's kept going, so I was thinking this might run a little long. But no, he's just not done with the family yet. I thought it was more of the story about him and Felix, but no, he wants the entire family.
yeah, it's a long game.
Yeah.
And when they start to reveal things, you're like, oh my god, it's all orchestrated.
Mm-hmm.
He put the hole in the bike tire. He knew that he's going to endear himself. Like I said earlier, you can tell he's obsessed with this guy as soon as he gets to college. He decides he's going to come up with a way to endear himself to these people. And I guess somewhere along the way he finds out there's an estate and all this, and he decides he's going to find his way to endear himself to them to the point that they're going to invite him to live there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, it seems like their friendship was sort of dwindling. Like he overhears. So Felix is like a big time ladies man on campus, and there's a lot of homoeroticism in this movie. So I don't know if everybody's just bisexual or I don't know if Felix is any kind of gay at all. But he's off with some girl that he's about to have sex with, presumably, and he overhears him talking about him in the third person without knowing he's behind them, kind of disparagingly, like not super mean, but just like she's saying like, oh, nobody wants to be around that guy, and he's like, oh, that's kind of cruel, but like the stuff he's saying, and he's not like upset with her obviously because he's followed all the way there, and Oliver's outside the window watching, and like I don't know if you see this in the first time, but you see later that he was like crying watching them have sex. So it looks like the friendship's kind of
Well, and I think
on the rocks.
that's how he comes up with his dad dying
Comes up
to
with the dad lie,
get pulled back in. Yeah.
and that's how he really ends up there. And there's also another character, Farley, that we haven't mentioned, I don't think yet, but he's like a cousin who also is living at this estate. And there is a lot of, I could see somebody saying maybe the plot, like the pacing kind of slows down at a point, but I liked that we got to kind of marinate in this wild, like it feels like a very memorable, crazy, carefree summer at this estate where nobody has a care in the world. It's just a matter of like, where we're gonna lounge around today. Like let's lounge out naked in the field. Let's lounge around the pool.
Yeah.
And it just gives you this mentality of like, and you can see Oliver's character change a little bit too. He goes from feeling like kind of uptight and overdressed all the time and stuff to feeling very casual and getting drunk a lot, and he's just got this whole new persona about him. And this estate is gorgeous. It reminded me a lot. We just went, all of us, to that the Biltmore estate in Asheville, and I felt like this kind of reminded me at moments of that. Although this dwarfs that, I think. But this is like this enormous state that I think is pretty secretive, and like they had to. A lot of the people that filmed this movie, including the director, like lived there during the filming of this movie. So
Yeah, I was interested in that too because it's like a lot of the castles you see in movies, you'll see in other movies, but watching this, I was thinking I've never seen this one in another movie.
literally, this has never been in a movie before, and I think
Okay.
they're saying that they're not going to allow it to ever be again.
That's pretty
Which
cool.
I guess they can make those kind of decisions. Yeah. I don't know if something went wrong where they were like, and that's the last time too. Like somebody like they lifts like cigarette butts. There's more smoking in this movie than like any other movie in 2023 for sure.
Well, it does take place in 2006.
Yeah, back when it was cool.
Yeah, no vapes.
But yeah, so the ultimate reveal, you know, when you find out everything down to the letter is orchestrated, and then the older Oliver is sitting talking to Elspeth's character in a hospital bed is the big like that was the final thing where I was like, oh my god,
Right.
because he's found a way to like run into her again at a coffee shop by accident, and she just recently bought herself a place out here because her husband did he kill himself?
It didn't really say. It seemed like maybe that was implied because she said something about like I'm surprised he didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, that was my understanding is that he killed
Yeah.
himself, but I couldn't read the whole newspaper article, but
Yeah.
he's aware of that. He's sitting in this diner, and she says something about him looking much older, and I was like, you know, he does look older right here. I don't know if they did like some, you know, CGI aging or something like that, but she's welcomes him warmly because in her mind, like her husband kicked him out without her permission, which he extorted money out of him to get him to leave. He asks him nicely to leave. Well, we didn't even really say, but everybody starts dying. I mean, I guess that is implied.
Yeah. So Felix dies, and then Venetia takes her life shortly after, and like she kind of pseudo adopts Barry and was like, "You can't leave." Not Barry, Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
And
the thing is, you don't even. We're learning this in a certain kind of way where it's like we learn that Felix has died, but we don't know what happened there. And then later we find out that Barry had like, or well, we're gonna call him Barry,
Yeah.
you know? But he had like, I guess poisoned the wine he was drinking or something like that, or given him a bottle of wine that had poison in it. And then even the sister, who it looks like she just was distraught over her brother dying and killed herself in the tub. I don't know if he put the razor there and was just like, here you go. But I guess he killed her. I mean, but the way it showed at the end of the movie, it's kind of like, did he kill her or did he just find her in a vulnerable moment and be like, here's the tools you need? I don't know.
I think that's kind of what he did. He saw like put the razors there, and she ended up killing herself after she found them, unaliving.
But yeah, so now everybody's gone, and the only person left is Elspeth, Rosamund Pike's character. They meet again, and it's a positive moment, and she says, "Come back to the estate." And I'm presuming that they're almost making it like they started a relationship for some amount of time, like some months.
That's what I was thinking as well, because I mean, she seemed to
'Cause he
will
does-
him the estate and everything.
Yeah, and he does like flirt with her early on in the movie, like saying, "Must be tough having a mom like you that's just gorgeous," or whatever he says, you know. So he's kind of planting that seed early. But yeah, he makes his way back there, and then he does something that we don't know what it is to make her violently sick, like life-endingly sick. It's their last days on Earth, and then right before the very end, he basically like ends her life support, like takes the breathing tube out, and she dies in front of him. And the very end of the movie, and I read a trivia thing about what the ending of this almost was, and I'll tell you in a second. But this is a much better ending. But the ending of the movie is him just naked in this estate by himself, just dancing through the halls to the song "Murder on the Dance Floor," and I think that is like some of the most iconic cinema we've seen this year. That ending scene,
It was pretty great.
Barry Keoghan dancing naked through a giant sprawling estate.
Yeah.
It was great, and he just and then there's a thing with like the stones. You know, every time someone dies, we toss a stone in the river and put their name on it and everything. And he's got the Felix stone and the Venetia stone, and he's got all these stones sitting on top of, I don't know what to call that thing, but it's just like he's collecting rich people corpses.
Rich people. Yeah. Yeah. Highly recommend it. Like I said, it's my movie of the year right now. I was not expecting it going into it.
I'm extremely surprised by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there so since you like it so much, and there's a lot of positive to say, and we didn't even get into the cinematography, and the cinematography is great. It looks great the whole time. it's like a 5:4 aspect ratio or something. It's like a square.
Yeah.
The whole movie, which I thought was cool. It does. I think that works well with like face close-ups and stuff. So that was cool. The music's good all the way through.
Yeah.
And there's a wide range of like there's like classical music and choirs singing, and there's also like modern music, and there's a rendition of a famous like Gaelic hymn that I've always thought is a really pretty song in English. It's called "Be Thou My Vision." A lot of good music through here, but the performances and the directing and the story and everything just come together to make something. Yeah, like you said, like one of the most
Special.
memorable things of the year.
Yeah.
It kind of like in the same way that Beau is Afraid was. Like it's not going to be for everybody by any means, but sometimes people take big chances like this and it pays off, and this one definitely paid off for me. And I do recommend this even more than Promising Young Woman, but certainly if you like Promising Young Woman, I think this shows growth from this director. So yeah, it's got me stoked to see whatever she's got coming next. And Barry Keoghan just continues to be like, first of all, even if he, like the most amazing agent ever, because picking some really good stuff for him to work with, but he kind of is just a chameleon, and I think he does kind of lose himself in these roles. Even though you could draw parallels between this and Killing of a Sacred Deer, I still think he plays two different characters in these.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely. Yeah.
I think my only con maybe is just a little bit that Carey Mulligan character didn't get a whole lot to do. I get why she was there, and it served a purpose in the story, but I'm surprised that this director, who Carey Mulligan was the star of her first movie ever, she put Carey Mulligan in this movie and made her kind of the least consequential character that wasn't like an extra in my mind.
Well, I feel like maybe that was trying to like get us ready for Felix dying, because when she dies, Oliver's like, Pamela's dead, and they're like, oh yeah, she died. And then obviously they were really good friends with her, and Felix is more of a tragic death. But even when he dies, they kind of go straight back to normal as quickly as
They're
they can.
obviously
I mean, they're
extremely-
traumatized.
Yeah, but they're extremely eccentric people, and the way they handle his death is bizarre. And there's no, in the real world, there's no wrong way to react or deal with trauma or deal with grief or whatever. And that scene is just expertly done, though, with the closing of the curtains and everything, and the casting the whole room in this red glow, and the way everyone is like quietly in so much turmoil behind the eyes, but on the outside they're like, so how's the weather? Like,
Yeah.
that was just. I wish I
Eating
could remember
lunch.
some of the things they say, but that scene was probably one of the best in the movie to me. So yeah, this is certainly shocking, and I see why people are saying like, oh man, it's going to go viral. People like showing reactions to their first reactions to this part of the movie or this part of the movie, and I get all that, but this is a lot more than just like shock factor. There's an actual like really good story to chew on here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think can't recommend it enough. This is great. So I'm glad I got you to come around on this one, because we are like overwhelmed with movies right now.
I know.
They hit us with everything at the end here before Oscar season. It's a little hard to manage all of it.
It's rough.
All right, well that's enough for us. Yeah, catch us on the next one. I'm not sure exactly what's coming next, but one of the many movies that are in circulation right now, I'm certain. And we appreciate you guys as always commenting, and if you've seen this movie, certainly get a conversation going below. There's a lot to say about this, or if you haven't seen it, maybe talk about Promising Young Woman or whatever you want to talk about down there. but remember to like this and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for helping us get to our goal and exceed it already, so that's been very cool. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.
We'll see ya.
I'm a OD boy.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my
G boy.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my